The call that changed everything. The afternoon sun streamed through the tall windows of the corner office on the 32nd floor, casting long shadows across the polished mahogany desk. Outside, the city hummed with its usual rhythm of traffic and distant construction, but inside everything was quiet except for the soft clicking of fingers on a keyboard. David Richardson adjusted his reading glasses and glanced at the clock on his computer screen. 3:15 on a Tuesday afternoon? Another hour of emails to answer, another conference call to join, another day in the endless cycle that had become his life. At 52, David had built an empire from nothing. Richardson Industries employed over 2,000 people across 6 states, and his name appeared regularly in business magazines and financial newspapers. But success, he had learned, could be a very lonely thing. His phone rang. Cutting through the silence with its sharp, professional tone, David glanced at the caller ID display, expecting to see his assistant's extension or perhaps the number of a business partner. Instead, the screen showed an unfamiliar local number. He almost let it go to voicemail. After all, important calls came through his assistant and everything else could wait. But something made him pause, his finger hovering over the ignore button. Maybe it was the way the afternoon light was falling across his desk. Or maybe it was simply the quiet desperation he'd been feeling lately, the sense that his life had become nothing but numbers and meetings and decisions that affected everyone except himself. David picked up the phone. Richardson Industries. David Richardson speaking. There was a pause, then a small, uncertain voice came through the line. Hello, is this the first person in Mommy's phone? David blinked, caught completely off guard. The voice belonged to a child. A little girl, he thought, maybe 6 or 7 years old. Her words were careful and precise, the way children speak when they're trying very hard to be grown up. "I'm sorry," David said gently, his business tone automatically softening. "I think you might have the wrong number, sweetheart." "Are you trying to call someone?" "No," the little voice said, and David could hear something that might have been tears. "I'm calling the first person in Mommy's phone. She said if something ever happened and I couldn't find her, I should call the first person in her phone book." "That's you." David felt something shift in his chest, a tightening he hadn't experienced in years. He looked out his window at the busy street below, at all the people hurrying to their destinations, and suddenly the corporate world felt very far away. "What's your name, honey?" he asked. "Lily," she said. "Lily Martinez. My mommy is Sarah Martinez. Do you know her?" The name didn't ring any bells, but David's mind was already moving past that detail. This little girl was alone somewhere, scared enough to call a stranger because her mother had told her to. The business executive in him recognized a crisis situation, but something deeper, something he thought he'd lost years ago, was responding to the trust in that small voice. "Where are you right now, Lily?" David asked, already reaching for a pen and notepad. "I'm at school," she said. "But everyone else got picked up and I'm still here with Mrs. Henderson. She's the after-school lady. Mommy was supposed to come get me at 3 o'clock, but she didn't come and she's not answering her phone and I'm scared." David glanced at his clock again. 3:20, he could picture it perfectly. A small girl sitting in an empty classroom or cafeteria, watching the door and waiting for someone who wasn't coming. "Mrs. Henderson is there with you?" David asked. "Yes. She's really nice, but she doesn't know what to do either. She tried calling Mommy, but nobody answered." David's mind began working the way it did in boardroom emergencies, quickly, methodically, focused on solutions. But underneath the practical thinking, something else was happening, something warmer. "Lily, you did exactly the right thing by calling," he said. "You're very brave. Now I want you to tell me the name of your school, okay?" "Riverside Elementary," Lily said. "It's on Oak Street. Do you know where that is?" David did know. It was only about 15 minutes from his office in a neighborhood he drove through sometimes on his way home to his empty house in the suburbs. "I know exactly where that is," David said. "Lily, I want you to put Mrs. Henderson on the phone for a minute, okay? I'm going to talk to her, and then I'm going to come and make sure you're safe until we can find your mommy." There was a pause, then the sound of the phone being handed over. "Hello?" A tired but kind female voice came on the line. "Mrs. Henderson, this is David Richardson. I received a call from Lily Martinez. I don't know her mother personally, but Lily called me because she was instructed to call the first contact in her mother's phone in case of an emergency. Oh, thank goodness, Mrs. Henderson said. I've been trying to figure out what to do. The mother's phone goes straight to voicemail, and Lily doesn't know any other family members' numbers. David was already standing, reaching for his jacket. I'm going to come to the school, he said. I'll be there in 20 minutes. In the meantime, could you try calling the local hospitals? If Sarah Martinez was in an accident or had a medical emergency, that might explain why she's not responding. That's a good idea, Mrs. Henderson said. And sir, thank you. Most people wouldn't. It's okay, David said, and realized he meant it completely. Can you put Lily back on? The small voice returned. Hello? Lily, I'm coming to your school to make sure you're okay, David said. I'll be there very soon. You just stay with Mrs. Henderson, all right? Okay, Lily said, and David could hear the relief in her voice. Are you going to help me find my mommy? David looked around his office, at the awards on the walls, the stack of contracts on his desk, the view of the city that had once meant everything to him. None of it seemed important now compared to the trust in that little girl's voice. Yes, he said. I'm going to help you find your mommy. 25 minutes later, David found himself sitting in a small plastic chair in an elementary school classroom, looking across at a little girl with dark pigtails and serious brown eyes. She had been quiet since he arrived, studying him with the careful attention children reserve for adults. They're not sure they can trust yet. Mrs. Henderson had called 3 local hospitals and found Sarah Martinez at Mercy General. She'd been in a car accident that afternoon. Nothing life-threatening, but serious enough to require surgery and an overnight stay. In the chaos and pain, she hadn't been able to call the school. So my mommy is okay? Lily asked for the 3rd time. She's going to be fine, David assured her. The doctors are taking very good care of her, but she has to stay in the hospital tonight, so we need to figure out where you're going to sleep. Lily's face scrunched up in concentration. I don't have a grandma or grandpa, she said. And Mommy's friend Jessica moved to California last month. David felt that tightening in his chest again. This little girl, who had called a complete stranger because she trusted her mother's instructions, was now depending on him to make everything okay. And the strangest thing was, David realized he wanted to make everything okay. For the first time in years, he felt like he was doing something that truly mattered. Well, David said carefully, I have a big house with a guest room, and I make pretty good pancakes for breakfast. Would you like to stay there tonight? We can visit your mommy first thing in the morning. Lily considered this seriously. Would that be okay? I don't want to be any trouble. No trouble at all, David said, and meant it completely. That evening, as David watched Lily carefully cut her grilled cheese sandwich into perfect triangles at his kitchen table, he realized something had changed in him. The house that had felt so empty for so long was filled with the sound of a child's laughter. The routine that had become so sterile was interrupted by questions about everything from why the refrigerator made noise to whether he'd ever seen a real elephant. When he tucked Lily into the guest bed that night, she looked up at him with those serious brown eyes and said, Thank you for taking care of me. Mommy always says that good people help when someone needs help. David smiled, feeling lighter than he had in months. Your mommy sounds like a very wise person. She is, Lily said. She works really hard to take care of me. She has 2 jobs because she says we have to be responsible for ourselves. Something clicked in David's mind. What kind of jobs does your mommy do? She cleans offices at night, Lily said. And during the day, she works at a place that helps people find jobs. She says she likes helping people, even when it's hard. David nodded thoughtfully. Richardson Industries was always looking for good people in human resources, and they contracted out their cleaning services to various companies around the city. The next morning at Mercy General Hospital, David met Sarah Martinez for the first time. She was sitting up in her hospital bed, her left arm in a sling and a bandage across her forehead, but her eyes were bright with relief as Lily ran to her. Mommy! Lily climbed carefully onto the bed. This is Mr. David. He took really good care of me and made me pancakes with smiley faces. Sarah looked at David with the kind of gratitude that doesn't need words. But she tried anyway. I don't know how to thank you, she said. When Lily told me what happened, I can't believe you would do that for strangers. David pulled up a chair beside the hospital bed. Actually, he said,